Hi, Jen Rice here. I want to talk today about shifting from action to attraction, or pushing versus flow. So our conventional wisdom says set a goal and work in a very hard linear fashion in order to get there. Sort of like pushing a boulder uphill. And sometimes it is a lot of work and a lot of effort. Sometimes it's pretty damn exhausting. I worked this way for a really long time because I thought that was the only way it was supposed to work. And I'd read about this whole thing called the law of attraction. It felt really woo-woo-y to me. And I've tried it. You know how you can just sit there and go, oh, you're just supposed to visualize your future state. You're supposed to visualize the boulder at the top of the mountain. And then magically the boulder will appear at the top of the mountain. So that didn't work for me either. Maybe it's worked for you, I don't know, but I'll share a bit about my own personal experience and how I have shifted and how I see the world. So we can shift from this idea of pushing a boulder uphill to perhaps floating downstream. Now I've experienced this. It's a lovely place to be. It's letting go of our fixed ideas of how things are supposed to be. All these ways that we're like pushing to try to make something work. And we're going with the current instead of against it. There are a couple reasons why this doesn't fully capture the reality of the situation. For starters, it implies that we are separate from the river, and we're not. This idea of separateness is actually what's created a lot of the problems out there in the world. So we're not separate, and not only that, but how can we attract something while we're moving? That's something that I had personally been wrestling with for years. I kept kind of changing direction or, this body in motion. So how is the thing, the person, whatever that I'm visualizing, how is that going to find me? Here's, I think, how this actually works. It's not pushing, it's not flowing, it's becoming. We aren't separate from the river, we are the river. And we have this dance, we have this idea of being fully grounded and rooted at the source. This is where we're tapped into the truth of who we are. If you're a spiritual person, this is tapped into the ground of being, all that is. But it's also more specifically tapped into your specific truth. This is your spring, your source. There's an individuality to it. And when we're deeply grounded in the truth of who we are, not trying to be someone we aren't, not living according to expectations or shoulds, not being ashamed of certain things about us that maybe we can't change even though we'd like to, but we have fully owned our own personal expression of humanity, we don't move from that. And from that deeply rooted and grounded source, we flow. We are the river. This is magical when we find this space. There's a tension here between stability and movement, safety and freedom. And it's finding that balance that allows us to move into uncharted territory without it being scary because we've not lost touch with our source. We can remain unchanging and yet navigate change constantly. So I would suggest to spend as much time as you need finding your own source and tapping into your truth. Because once you've identified that, everything flows from there. And here's what's also magical. It's the balance between me and we. What happens downstream? We begin to meet other rivers with different sources, but we're all gravitating towards the same Perhaps we're the same kind of people. We're motivated by the same kinds of things. We share the why. We share purpose. And by the end, we all merge into the sea. So there's another dynamic here, the dance between individuality and the truth that we are not separate from other human beings. And the truth that we can find our tribe, those people that we share commonalities with. And this is not about eliminating diversity. We need diversity. But chances are we resonate here with other people who tap into, kind of have similar sources. You know, we're kind of drawing from the same groundwater, if you will. It's how we think, it's our core values. It's what motivates us as human beings. And when we find those people, we can truly balance this idea of me and we. This is where it suddenly becomes exponential. This is where we all can magnetize and magnify each other. So this is one way that I've really shifted to see the world. I'd be curious to see what you think. And in my next video, I'll talk about another shift, which is don't start with why, start with who. I'll see you next time.